At Buckingham Palace, a foolish act turned into a powerful life lesson no one saw coming. A prank gone wrong, a lightning-fast reaction from the royal guard, and a crowd left in stunned amazement. What happened next shook the world. Stay with us, hit the like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. This is where dignity triumphs over disrespect. Let's dive right in. The day began with a quiet majesty at Buckingham Palace. The first light of dawn painted the ancient stones with hues of gold and rose, while a soft mist curled along the edges of the square, lending the scene a timeless, almost sacred feeling. Among the gathering crowd stood Michael Bennet, a royal guard whose presence commanded a natural respect. Only 27 years old, yet he carried himself with the gravity of a man who had seen more than his share of the world's burdens. His scarlet tunic gleamed in the morning sun, each brass button polished to a mirror shine. His tall bearskin cap added a further air of grandeur, while his posture, still, square, and utterly unyielding, spoke of a discipline few could fathom. Around him, the palace gates shimmered under the strengthening light, casting intricate reflections on the cobblestones. Children whispered and pointed, tourists lifted their cameras, and a tour guide's voice drifted through the air, reminding everyone that these guards were not merely for show, they were the living embodiment of tradition, honor, and duty, virtues that even today demand respect. Michael stood silent and steady, a sentinel guarding not just the palace, but a lineage of sacrifice and service that stretched back through centuries. Into this quiet, dignified setting came a disruption. A young man named Ryan Parker. In stark contrast to the respectful atmosphere around Buckingham Palace, Ryan's presence was loud, brash, and impossible to ignore, wearing a tight-fitting shirt emblazoned with Social Media King. Across the chest, designer sunglasses perched on his head, and a large iced. Coffee in hand, Ryan radiated a self-assured swagger. To him, the palace was not a sacred place of history and tradition, but merely a backdrop for his latest online stunt. His entourage, 3 friends equally eager to capture viral fame, trailed behind him, phones already recording. Ryan wasn't here to admire the legacy the royal guards represented. He was here for attention, and he intended to earn it by mocking a man he believed would not, or could not, respond. Amidst the respectful murmurs of tourists, his voice rang out, seeking to turn the moment into a spectacle. While others saw honor, Ryan saw only opportunity, a chance to provoke, to gain likes and views, without understanding the deep reverence woven into every thread of the scarlet uniform standing silently before him. It was arrogance born of ignorance, and it would soon lead him to a lesson he would never forget. It did not take long for Ryan Parker's behavior to escalate. What began as playful teasing quickly crossed the invisible line between humor and disrespect. Standing in front of Michael Bennet, Ryan raised his voice, making exaggerated gestures, mock salutes, and sarcastic bows, all in a crude attempt to provoke the royal guard. Some tourists nearby chuckled nervously, unsure whether to laugh or recoil at the growing scene. Others, particularly older visitors and veterans, looked on with furrowed brows, sensing the deep disrespect unfolding before them. Ryan mocked Michael's rigid posture, compared the bearskin hat to cheap costume props, and scoffed at the idea of tradition itself. He strutted back and forth before the guard, narrating every move into his phone for his eager online audience. To Ryan, it was all a game, a performance, a chance to portray himself as daring and irreverent. But to the watching crowd, it became increasingly clear that his actions were rooted not in bravery, but in profound ignorance. A retired military veteran, standing among the bystanders, called out to Ryan with calm authority, urging him to show respect for the uniform and the centuries of service it represented. But Ryan, lost in the arrogance of youth and the allure of fleeting internet fame, dismissed the warning with a smirk. His entourage laughed along, egging him on further, unaware, or uncaring, of the heavy silence that had begun to settle over the square. Those who knew better, those who had served, who had lost friends in distant fields, understood that what Ryan mocked was no mere ceremony. It was sacrifice. It was duty. And soon, Ryan would learn that mocking honor has a way of awakening strength far greater than he could ever have anticipated. With arrogance clouding his better judgment, Ryan Parker decided that mockery alone was not enough. He craved a spectacle, something bigger, something that would secure his place on the endless scroll of viral videos. In front of a growing crowd, under the timeless gaze of Buckingham Palace, Ryan prepared to cross the final line of decency. Holding his half-finished iced coffee high for all to see, he grinned at his phone, narrating the moment for his followers. Then, with a theatrical flourish, he hurled the drink directly at Michael Bennet. The cup, its contents sparkling in the morning sun, sailed through the air in an arc aimed squarely at the royal guard's face, in immaculate uniform. The square seemed to inhale collectively, a gasp rising from the tourists, who had been watching with growing unease. Parents shielded their children's eyes. Veterans clenched their fists. Phones were raised not in amusement, but in disbelief. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed to stand still. The ancient stones of the palace courtyard bore witness, as they had for centuries, to another test of tradition, a confrontation between fleeting arrogance and enduring dignity. Ryan's laughter, so loud only moments before, faltered mid-breath. His friends lowered their cameras slightly, sensing the tide turning, and amidst it all, Michael Bennet did not flinch, did not break formation. Instead, he prepared to show the world that stillness is not weakness, and that respect, once tested, can respond with a quiet strength far mightier than any outburst. As the cup sailed through the air, the moment unfolded with breathtaking precision. In a movement so swift and controlled it seemed almost beyond human, Michael Bennet's right hand snapped upward, catching the coffee cup mid-flight with effortless grace. Not a single drop marred his uniform. Not one thread was disturbed. The crowd, frozen in collective anticipation, gasped audibly. Mouths hung open in stunned disbelief. What they had just witnessed was not merely a remarkable feat of reflex. It was the manifestation of years of elite military training, honed not for showmanship, but for survival. For the first time that morning, Michael's eyes locked directly onto Ryan Parker's. They were not eyes filled with anger or arrogance. They were steady, calm, and immeasurably strong. The eyes of a man who understood discipline in its purest form. Without raising his voice, without breaking his posture, Michael spoke with a thunderous authority that carried across the entire square. "That will be quite enough." The words, measured and deliberate, landed with far greater force than any shout could have. It was a moment that shifted the entire energy of the crowd. Tourists who had once laughed nervously now stood silent, reverent, many lowering their phones in quiet respect. Michael Bennet had answered provocation not with violence, not with pride, but with a dignified restraint that spoke louder than any act of retaliation ever could. In doing so, he reminded all who witnessed it that real strength does not need to posture or roar. True strength, the lasting kind, stands silently, unwavering, and ready. In the heavy silence that followed, Ryan Parker stood utterly exposed. His bravado melted away in the face of a dignity he could neither mock nor comprehend. His phone, once a weapon of attention, now hung useless at his side. The friends who had encouraged his antics quietly slipped away into the crowd, unwilling to share in his disgrace. Palace security moved swiftly, but not hastily, approaching Ryan with the same measured professionalism that Michael Bennet had displayed moments earlier. There was no need for force. Ryan's shoulders sagged in silent surrender. The proud social media king had become a lesson in public humiliation. The crowd, many still recording, now shifted their focus from the stoic guard to the fallen prankster. There was no applause for Ryan, no sympathy. Instead, there was a shared understanding that he had crossed a line no decent person should ever approach. As security led him away, Murmurings of approval followed, not for his arrest, but for the dignified response he had forced upon himself. Later that day, formal charges would be filed: attempted assault on a member of the royal guard, disruption of ceremonial duties, and conduct unbecoming on royal grounds. His online following, once eager to celebrate his pranks, turned against him swiftly and without mercy. The sponsors that had fueled his rise abandoned him. His name became a cautionary tale, a reminder that disrespect carries consequences far beyond fleeting internet fame. Ryan Parker had set out to humiliate another man. Instead, he humiliated only himself. Long after Ryan Parker was led away, the atmosphere at Buckingham Palace remained charged, but not with anger. Instead, a deep, reflective reverence settled over the crowd. Parents knelt beside their children, quietly explaining the meaning of duty and respect. Veterans stood a little straighter, their own memories stirred by the silent strength they had just witnessed. Michael Bennet resumed his post, his stance as composed as if nothing had happened. Yet to everyone watching, he was transformed from a ceremonial figure into a living embodiment of values that too often seem forgotten: dignity, self-restraint, and unwavering commitment. Tourists who had once seen the guards as mere photo opportunities now gazed upon Michael with genuine admiration. Phones were lowered, conversations grew hushed. Many visitors, young and old alike, found themselves reflecting on the nature of true strength. Not the noisy, attention-seeking kind, but the quiet, enduring strength that demands no recognition, yet stands firm against provocation. Across the world, the story spread, not as a tale of humiliation for Ryan Parker, but as a powerful reminder that tradition, honor, and discipline are not relics of the past. They are living principles, embodied by those who serve with silent courage. For those who witnessed it, the memory of that morning would not fade quickly. It would endure as a lesson passed down, that real greatness does not boast or rage. It stands steady, even when challenged, and it commands respect not through force, but through character. In the days that followed, the story of Michael Bennet's quiet triumph traveled far beyond the gates of Buckingham Palace. News outlets around the world replayed the moment when a royal guard caught a flying coffee cup with effortless precision, maintaining composure under the most public of provocations. It was not merely a viral clip, it was a lesson, and millions recognized it as such. Veterans organizations, civic leaders, and ordinary citizens praised Michael's actions as a powerful testament to the enduring values of duty and honor. On television, retired military officers spoke with pride, explaining that the discipline required to stand motionless against mockery was the same discipline that saved lives on battlefields. Social media, so often a platform for fleeting outrage, became for once a place of reverence as tributes poured in from across generations and borders. Ryan Parker, once celebrated for his antics, became a cautionary tale, a reminder that fame, built on disrespect, is as fleeting as mist in the morning sun. Meanwhile, Michael's dignity reminded a weary world that true greatness requires no stage, no applause. It simply stands, silent and steadfast, through the storms of arrogance and the tests of time. For those who value tradition, service, and quiet courage, Michael's actions were a beacon, proof that in an age of noise, dignity still matters. Buckingham Palace had witnessed many historic moments across the centuries. That morning, thanks to one guard's unwavering strength, it witnessed another, a timeless affirmation of what it means to serve with honor. The story of Michael Bennet and Buckingham Palace is not merely a tale of one moment. It is a living testament to a tradition carried forward by countless men and women who understand the true meaning of service. It reminds us that every act of restraint, every silent stand of dignity, is part of a legacy much greater than any individual. Today, young children visiting the palace whisper with a reverence, trying to mimic the upright posture of the guards they once thought of only as statues. Veterans nod quietly, recognizing in Michael's steady stance the same spirit they once wore into battle. And across generations, a simple truth is reaffirmed: honor is not given, it is earned, and it is preserved through action, not words. We each have a role to play in carrying this legacy forward. By respecting those who serve, by valuing discipline over arrogance, and by teaching future generations the quiet strength found in true character, we keep alive the ideals that have built nations and safeguarded freedoms. Join us in honoring these timeless values. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the enduring power of duty, tradition, and respect. In a world increasingly driven by noise and spectacle, the events at Buckingham Palace stood as a quiet but powerful reminder. True strength does not roar for attention. True courage does not seek the spotlight. It stands silent, steady, and prepared, even when mocked, even when challenged. Michael Bennett's measured response did more than uphold the honor of the Royal Guard. It offered a lesson to all who witnessed it, that discipline, tradition, and dignity still matter in a world that too often forgets them. It showed that power restrained is far greater than power unleashed. As you reflect on this extraordinary moment, we invite you to remember what it represents. Respect, service, and quiet strength are not relics of the past. They are virtues needed more than ever today. If you were inspired by this story, we encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share this lesson with others who still believe in honor, courage, and tradition. New stories, celebrating true dignity, are coming soon. Make sure to ring the bell and never miss a moment of real greatness.